And we want to welcome Dr. Kyle Lorenz. Kyle, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Mark.
No problem. So Kyle is a chiropractor originally from Wisconsin, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and you went to the University of Wisconsin for your undergrad and graduated from Palmer in 2011, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, and then your wife, Savannah, is also a chiropractor. You met in chiropractic school?
Yes, we did. Yep.
Okay, good. And up until just a few months ago, you had 2 children. Now you have 3 children, and you moved to Wyoming because that's where Savannah is from, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, good. So do you want to tell us anything else about yourself? What kind of why did you become a chiropractor and so forth?
Well, so initially I grew up in a chiropractic family. My dad was a chiropractor since 1984. And then his sister actually went into school, decided to go against nursing school and went into chiropractic school as well too. My dad did have a couple practices in some rural communities in Wisconsin, in Prairie du Chien and in Boscoville, Wisconsin, and my aunt in La Crosse, Wisconsin. So it was always my goal to run one of the practices for my father when I got out of school. And then things changed when I met my lovely wife. And so we knew that we were going to need a little bit more than a real small town of about 1,500 people in Boscoville, Wisconsin. To pay off all the student loan debt that we had accrued over that 8 years of schooling together. And so initially we had kind of planned on going to Colorado, but as things changed, we decided to open up in our hometown here in Cheyenne, Wyoming, the capital of Wyoming.
So you wanted to avoid a small town, low population area by moving to the least populated state in the country?
Yes, that is correct, Mike.
So how's that worked out for you?
We've done pretty well. When we first started, I mean, we were literally pulling carpet samples out of trash bins to piece our carpet together. Made the most of a $40,000 loan, and now I've turned that into a practice that's thriving with 13 employees here currently. We're on track to have our best year ever. Last year was our best year ever. So
how about that? So I would love to take credit as AMI because you've been with us for just a little over a year now, right?
Well, I've been with you, since January of last year, but we've actually been had our medical services introduced as of April 4th, 2019. So
I got it.
Okay. For 1 year and 5 days.
But in all fairness, I think you and Savannah have never seen a downturn in your stats. Is that an accurate statement?
You know, actually, yeah, that is an accurate statement. I was trying to think if our first quarter was down, but actually our first quarter this year is, I think we're up almost $250,000 in our first quarter this year.
Wow. Wow. So the reason I wanted to talk to somebody like you is you are a doer. And so although our systems work very good at AMI, they don't work if somebody doesn't apply them, which happens a little too often. But you apparently are a doer and your wife is a doer and you both applied them. And you've done very well up until the coronavirus. So what we want to do now is we want to talk a little bit about what life has been like in your practice since the coronavirus. So let me ask you a couple of questions along those lines. So number one, I had these questions I wrote out for you and I just lost them. Here we go. So first of all, why did you decide to integrate, being from a chiropractic family? And then I guess the second part of that question is, did you get any flashback?
You know, a little bit of some flack from some of my family members right at first. My mother-in-law seemed to be the biggest one at first. She likes to fight us on things until she sees how they turn out. But it wasn't really that bad after people really saw how things started moving on. We've always wanted to integrate. We've heard about it for quite a while. My wife actually did her preceptorship at a clinic in Fort Collins, Colorado, that was integrated. And then a guy that I had worked for that I had done some preceptorship for as well too was also an integrated clinic, but not while I was doing his preceptorship. So I'd stayed pretty close with him, and I think he was actually one of your guys' first clients when you guys had initially started AMI.
Yep, he's a great guy as well. So so then tell me how it's been going well. The first year went really well. It sounds like even starting off this year, you're off to a really good start. But what have you done? Like, excuse me, when the coronavirus started becoming apparent, for us, it was really, we heard about it in January, we heard about it in February, but it really didn't start affecting things in our practice until March. So did you guys prepare for it, and how did you handle it when it started to become apparent there might be less people coming in and there might be a shutdown?
So there was some kind of preparation that we were doing beforehand. We had done some preparation beforehand. My wife's going to join us on the call. Are you okay with that, Mike?
I'm absolutely okay with that.
So this is my wife, Dr. Savannah. She had
Hey, Savannah. Good to see you again. Congratulations on the new baby.
Thank you.
She just got done seeing some patients, so I got done a little bit early. So anyways, when the coronavirus first hit Wyoming and hit a lot of us and they started doing some of the shutdowns, we did have a pretty big drop off in a lot of patients that had canceled their appointments. And so we had opened up an extra day to try to spread things out for those who had fear of being in groups of large people. We did set aside separate times, working through our lunch hours, things along those lines, to get them into the office and to work with their schedules. There were some people that absolutely refused to come in. So what we would do then is we would schedule them out a few weeks later so that we would not lose them off of the books completely.
Right.
We have gotten some people back from that. Some of we've continued to move down, but we don't let them. We try not to let them fall off the schedule completely, and have a plan for when they do come back at getting their care rebooted.
So numbers wise, as far as people coming in your office, what was a typical day before the coronavirus?
We'd see up to 150 patients in a day, between the 3 to 4 providers we had working at that time. Okay.
And since the coronavirus has hit, what percentage, if you're tracking that, have you dropped off?
32, around there, 35.
Yeah, 32 to 35%. That was right away. Yeah, that was right away. I'll say last week, I think we saw like 130 people on Thursday, and actually had a really smoking week last week. Monday this week with some announcements they had on the news, I guess. We did have a lot of cancellations on Monday. The good thing about Monday is I can move them later down the week, and so I've been pretty solid all day the rest of the week.
So it was pretty smart on both of you guys' part to spread your hours out to give people more room. We discovered the same thing as well. We went as far as putting tape on our mat tables to show 6-foot intervals so that people would be able to keep that social distancing. But how did you communicate with your patients? What did you communicate to them about the cleanliness of your office and the steps you were taking, and what steps did you take to prevent the spread of coronavirus?
So we did send out a mass email to all of our patients, letting them know how we are disinfecting, and that we will be accommodating on the schedules if necessary. We also sent out a mass text message to everybody here as well too. And a couple of our elderly patients, or ones that really were immunocompromised, things along those lines, we actually went out of our way and even called some of those patients to try to shift them around, get them in, getting the care that they need, so they don't have a complete fall off from the progress that they've made.
Okay, that's interesting. You did the same thing that we did. We did a mass email, and then we did a mass text. And have you had follow-ups to that?
Yeah, we've actually gotten a lot of response from it. What we've even done actually is this week and last week, I think, we took out a 1-page ad in the newspaper, an entire ad, and said that we're still open, new hours, call for accommodations. These are things that we treat, had a picture of our entire staff. We're here to get you through this.
Yeah.
And it is dirt cheap advertising because no one's advertising in the newspaper right now. So they're giving it to you right now. So we're taking as much advantage of that as we can.
Yeah.
I feel like if there ever is a time for someone to read a newspaper, it might be right around now. Otherwise, I haven't really cared too much about newspaper ads, I guess.
Well, people are getting a little bit rammy. We hear that from patients. I hear it from family members. They're getting a little bit like claustrophobic and having a little bit of cabin fever. So they're looking for things to do. So have you noticed that with your patients as well?
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. What really kind of ticked people off is they just shut down overnight park passes for people here in the state of Wyoming. And we have over 50% of the state is public land. So people are having a hard time even getting out in the least densely populated state in the lower 48. So,
wow. Well, hopefully they lift that soon. We have seen a change, like you guys just mentioned, this week as well. We started seeing the news affects people coming in. And we saw at the beginning of the week, over the weekend, everybody was saying this was going to be the worst week ever. But then I believe it was Monday or Tuesday, the head of the CDC, I forget his name, Dr. Robert something, said we apparently way overestimated the amount of deaths that are going to come from this virus, and our models were all wrong. It's going to be milder than we thought. And then we've seen a spike since then as well. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, we actually, like I said, Monday after the weekend of news was not the best. People just sat around and dwelled on the negative things. I'm wired a little bit differently. I mean, my wife and I are. We really don't have much or don't really do much of any watching of the news. I might Google my CBS Channel 5 Wyoming and see what's going on locally real quick for closings and things along those lines, but I don't let the media really taint how we do things here in our office outside of trying to abide by the guidelines of the CDC.
So that brings me into the next topics I wanted to talk to you about. How are you inspiring your staff, number one, and number two, how are you guys inspiring yourselves?
So we found other things to work on here in the office with having more hours and things along those lines. We're working on compliance here more so. We're actually completely redoing our software. So we're going to a new electronic health records billing software to become more compliant here as well too. But as far as motivating our staff, we do like to focus on the positives. We don't like to talk about the negatives when we're here in the office. We like to thank the staff, get direct compliments from our patients when we hear good news from them, and then let them know, hey, will you do me a favor when you're working with that staff member back in the rehab bay, where you let them know how well they're doing as well too, because they don't always get to hear the good things in life. They only get to hear the crap things. And so now that your shoulder is working 85% better, let her know. And that really kind of builds them up here a little bit more. We had a couple staff members that were drastically freaked out, but for the most part, everyone's on pretty level playing ground now.
We've had the same thing, and we've actually let those people, we said, if you feel better staying at home, just stay at home. And so some of them will have elected to do that, which worked out because we were spreading our hours out and spreading the patients out. So we didn't need as much staff at any given time. So this worked out well for us. But how about yourselves? Now, I know you two are wired differently than most people, because when I first met you, I immediately got that feeling. How do you keep each other going?
Oh,
jeepers.
Well, day to day, I remember when it first started, we both looked at each other and was like, well, we're not closing unless we're forced to close. A lot of people were asking us, oh, are you going to close and this and that? And we were like, absolutely not.
They'd have to put plywood on the door for me.
Yeah, they'd have to make us somehow lock that front door. But we talk about it every day. We vent with our frustrations. Our goals are definitely different. We're going through some other stuff too in the clinic, so losing a little sleep there, but tackling it head on. We just want to reach our goals. We set goals at the beginning of 2020, and we're not going to let something like coronavirus hinder us from reaching that day to day, week to week, month to month.
Great. So you said a couple things that made me, let me just look at my list here, because I don't want to miss any of the questions I told you I'd be talking about, but you're hitting, what I'm seeing from the two of you is you don't even think about motivating yourself, you can self-motivate. Is that an accurate statement?
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's done some things. We do, her more than me, like to revisit a lot of our goals as well too. And we'll even go back as far as 7 years ago when we first opened the practice, where, I mean, Christ, I think our monthly goal is what we hope to make in a day now that we're integrated.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about where you're actually at. So have you been able to get new patients in during this crisis?
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Last Thursday, I think we had 6 or 8 new patients.
No, I think it was 6. Yeah.
6 new patients last Thursday. Yeah. We're averaging about anywhere from 2 to 4 new patients a day still.
Now you're putting people on care plans, I take it, right?
Absolutely.
And you don't see a problem with that?
No.
Good. Neither do we. And that's probably because we think just like you. We had the same meeting. We're not going to shut down unless they force us to shut down. I don't live in the state of our clinic, so I got my managers to agree to that. And that's what they believe. They wanted to do that. So when we decided we're definitely going to stay open, then it was easier to go, well, then what are we going to do to keep people coming in? I am blown away how many new patients. We started 7 new patients on a care plan last week and 7 the week before. So, Yeah, well done. So to wrap up, your collections, and you don't have to reveal this if you don't want, but have they dropped off? Are you running into financial issues, or do you still feel comfortable?
No, we did our best month last month, right?
It wasn't our best month ever. It was our best month of March ever by over $150,000. So,
wow. Well done. Well done. So what do you think the future is going to be? How do you think this is going to play out?
Man, so far we've hit not hit all of our goals, but came pretty darn close on all of them. And we have set lofty goals.
Mm-hmm.
So our plan this year still is to pay off the rest of our debt and buy a second clinic. Last year we were able to pay off all student loan debt, pay off our home, and actually have no personal debt at all here anymore, as well as banking the rest of it for our next big investment opportunity. And we've all been able to do that because of you. So I really appreciate that a lot, Mike.
Thank you.
But our goals still are going to stay the same on our big goal of what we're trying to accomplish in the community and personally here as well, too.
Good. Well, we have a program that can help you with that second clinic that we should talk about, because I want to see you. I know you guys are going to succeed no matter what you do, but sometimes if you have the guidance of not walking down the wrong path, it can save you a little bit of heartache along the way. So I'm so glad you guys are doing so well. Our viewpoint was this: at AMI, we said, listen, if we get information out to our clients and inspire them to get information out to their patients, instead of just all the bad news we're all hearing, people will start hearing good news, and good news is always better than bad news. So thank you so much for doing that in the state of Wyoming.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Thank you guys too.
Okay.
I will say too, patients really are appreciating us because we're keeping the same environment as before. They look forward to coming in because it's a place of this feels the same as it did before, and they appreciate that.
It gets rid of the mundaneness that they do have in their life, getting to come in here and see smiling faces.
Yep.
Right. So. Awesome. Well done. Thank you for being part of the show, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a
Mike.
great day.